Yeah.
Hi, Genevieve.
Hi.
It's so good to see you.
So good to see you too. Happy New Year.
Same to you. I was actually just thinking, and this has me so excited. This is my very first recording of the new year.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah, I'm so thrilled that I get to chat with you on my very first chat of the year. So, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, we were just talking about your beautiful space that you're in. For those that are listening and not watching, she has a gorgeous space with like lots of natural light coming in. And I'm also in California where the sun is starting to shine again. And there's something that shifts for me internally when the light starts to come back. So I'm feeling that today.
Yeah. Yeah, me as well. It's been raining a ton here, so everything is sort of washed and fresh. And when the light comes out, it's always brighter. And
Yes.
noticing that it feels, I don't know, it feels really cleansing and it feels really like a great sort of way to walk gently into the new year instead of plowing ahead with the resolutions. I'm really into this idea that January is it's a time still for reflection and hibernation and introspection and not powering forth with change and and resolutions and all of that part can come, but I feel the need to be a little bit slow right now.
I am with you on that. It's such an interesting, I sit with this tension of like that and some energy and excitement about move. And so I'm like, how do I allow both to be true? I feel like I just saw something recently that was like, look around you, look at nature. The winter is still wintering. This idea that we're supposed to just like come out of hibernation and be like, let's go is kind of wild. So if you're not in that space, that's okay. We have to give ourselves permission to still gently ease into a year, especially after so many had, 2025. Like how many dumpster fires did we have to put out? So it's like how do we want to enter this year with intentionality? And the answer can be with ease and with grace and quiet. And I think that comes, I don't know if this is true for you, but I think as I get older, that feels more and more true and more acceptable, maybe is the word in my mind. I think before I would have just been like, no, you just gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go. Like
Now,
something has shifted for me over the years where that does not feel as true.
well, maybe that's part of what we were talking about before we started, where this thing about self-care that I'm really, which I like, I curdle at the thought of like self-care. Cause I'm like, I'm busy. Okay. I'm busy and I don't have time. And I'm go, go, go. But there's something shifting in me that I'm aware of that I actually am not meeting the moment the way I need to in that modality of
Mm.
just the one I know best, working out of my head, working super hard, just go, 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 go. Um, Something's missing and I'm actually not in my fullness and I'm being called to be in my heart more or to sort of synchronize both. In fact, a colleague of mine gave me a heart math, like a heart math monitor, a cohesion monitor,
Mm.
put on your earlobe to kind of make sure that your breathing and your heart are in sync.
Ooh,
So I've
I
just started,
love that.
yes. So it's a shift for me too. It's not the way I generally go about things, but I really feel the need
Mm.
to slow down enough so that I understand what's going on around me and can be a little bit more deliberate about the
Mm.
choices I'm making.
I love that. We just went right into it. I didn't even introduce you.
Okay.
No, which is perfect because it's a perfect actually segue into my introduction of you. Genevieve and I met through a coaching program that I've mentioned here before. It's Leap Academy for anybody that hasn't heard. I feel it's only fair that I mention the name because I say it so often that I should probably let folks know what it is. But I think it's really also a testament to the incredible people that find themselves there. And so many people that land there, it's because they are wanting to build something different for themselves. They have a vision, but maybe need to find a way to it or are looking for clarity. And to have that community of people, for me, anyways, was very life changing because it was to see that there are so many other folks that are seeking and that believe in something a little bit more or in building something different for themselves, it was really motivating for me, I guess is a way of saying it. But Genevieve in particular is just one of those women that you're immediately drawn to. It's like, you know, you're going to be before you even have a chat, just by the way she shows up online, by what she shares on platforms. But in meeting her within a few moments, it's just so incredible to be in her energy. And she has such a clear heart to change the world. Um, your heart to change the world shows up in really everything that you do, even as you were just sharing with me before we jumped in, and we'll get into it, but that your work is taking on a little bit of a different shape for the moment. But even with that, it's, you still have a tie to impact and to the impact you want to have on the world, which is so beautiful. She's creative and strategic, but more than that, she's super fun to chat with. And so I'm just really excited for everyone to get to hear from you today.
Thank you, Kristen.
Yes, absolutely. I'd love to maybe just rewind all the way back. Take us back in the time machine and the early days of your career. What were you drawn to? How did you start out? Like, what got you excited when you were first jumping into the career waters?
Into the career waters. It started with acting and theater. So, undergrad, UCSB, sociology and theater arts. We graduated with BFA and moved from college to LA to act, and was acting in my early 20s. And, gaining some traction. I knew I didn't really fit because I was young and everyone, the ingenue thing didn't work for me. I was volunteering at the Los Angeles Mental Health Association because from really early on, I was very drawn to, like, why are there people on the street? Like, what's the deal? Why do people go crazy? What about society makes people decide they can't live in it and choose to live in a tent? So I was at 21 working with people who had really debilitating mental illnesses, and started directing plays with them and whatnot. So I, from the outset, I was like not really cut out for the LA cookie cutter ingenue. I was doing a lot of those character studies from people from the LA Mental Health Association, and I would bring these characters in, and people were always like, wow, like, you're amazing. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm reflecting what I find interesting in the world, but I was always coached, like, you're never going to get jobs playing 65-year-old men with mental illnesses. Like, you need to start, embracing what you are. And I never could do that. And that's always been for me. So
that's so interesting.
But it's my first love for sure. And one that I really greatly miss. And so, acting led to movement theater, school in Mexico, Guanajuato, Mexico, where I studied a really kind of interesting form of corporeal theater with Sigfrido Aguilar. And I just learned so much about the body and about creating theater, because the standard way of doing things, like plays where there's an actor and an actress, or all of it was like, there's more. There's something more interior and more interesting. The human body, in many ways, it's so dumb. We know, we understand it. Language is dumb. This is why people like Charlie Chaplin are brilliant, because, you know what I mean? They don't use words to convey the deeper meanings. So I've always been drawn to that. So movement theater led to anyway, there's too much to convey, but I'll just condense it. Led to a crazy thing that happened in Mexico where I almost died, led to me doing things with puppets.
Okay.
To convey that interior kind of thing, that get to working with people from the Mental Health Association, with wanting to do like languageless theater expressions. So puppets led to an opportunity to make a film I'd never done. I knew filmmakers from film school at UCSB, and I made a film. And that film called Boxed, about this experience that happened to me in Mexico where I was hunted by this crazy guy. It's a 12-minute film, and it went to Berlin. It was the very first film festival it went to. I didn't even know what a film festival was. And it won a jury award. So I was like, okay, there's got to be something here with this form of expression, which was very raw and very like coming from a need to tell a story. Nothing, just something that's visually arresting and very honest to tell the most basic parts of a story. And so I pursued that. And I'm still 20 years later, to 25, it's longer than that, 25 years later, I've made 5 of those films, and I have one that's in very long pre-production, but a short of it was made. It's called Too Loud of Solitude, and it's based on a European novella. And it stars Paul Giamatti. He's the voice in it. And that's been in long development because all of us have lives and it's very, very hard to make a movie. That's my creative kind of background.
This is, I mean, incredible because I also happen to know that you've done other incredible things in addition to what you just shared around your thoughts around workforce development and your thoughts around what it means to be in the social impact space. So it's incredible to hear the creative side of it as the kind of foundation and anchor around this need to tell a story. I think there's something so interesting there. I had so many questions that were popping up as you were sharing some of that. Can you share a little bit more when you were talking about your really young years in LA and navigating what it meant to like have this desire to express yourself? You were so interested in acting, but there was something else that was calling you that felt deeper. And you mentioned directing theater with folks that were navigating mental illnesses. What did that look like, and what did you have a vision when you set out to do that work, or did it kind of organically just start to create itself?
You know what? I was just drawn to, I have to know what's going on with people. That's like the sociologist in me. Like, what's
Hmm.
happening here? It informs my film work. It informs everything. Like, what's happening with humans? Why are we making these choices? Why do we leave so many people out? Like,
Yeah.
why do people, when they can't metabolize the structure that we've created called society and culture, all creation, right? All deliberately created for some people to succeed and for others not to succeed. And then the ones that can't do it, we just kind of go, you go over here, you go over
Yeah,
here.
sucks to be you. Best of
Right,
luck.
sorry. That's social murder, right? That's a very deliberate strategy on the part of the powers that be to make sure that we kind of weed out the weak.
Mm,
So that's all been part of all of this, is this desire to understand why do we do that? And also a sense that that's wrong. Like, it's not okay. At
yeah.
the end of our lives, the only thing that matters, in my view, is how we were to each other. That's it. I really believe in the golden rule, not because conceptually it makes sense. It just makes sense in my heart. And that's the one thing we've got so wrong. It
Yeah.
just societally across the board, we couldn't be getting it more wrong,
Yeah.
in terms of
Yeah.
where we put our priorities and how we're failing to make adjustments to make up for all of the damage that we've done,
Yeah.
all of this human collateral. We're not keeping pace. We're not keeping pace with that damage. And
Mm,
it's literally piling up in the streets, and we're not doing anything about it. So that urge was there in the very beginning. I couldn't explain it, but it was like, what's going on here? And what do we do about it?
that's so interesting. I mean, I'm curious if you have a perspective just based on the amount of time you've spent in this work. Do people care less nowadays about this idea of human collateral, or do you think it is the same? It just has a different book cover now. Do you know what I mean? Have you seen over the course of these decades of being in these spaces, like, do people just not care about the damage that we're doing? Or is it that we're more concerned for our own self preservation?
There's a correlative for sure. There's a correlative between the amount of damage and the more we kind of turn away because we don't know what to do about it. We know we're guilty. If you
Yeah.
have a consciousness at all, you know that your life and the things that you have, there's a correlative between what you have and what they don't have. There's all these other things. One of the most important things I learned in studying mental illness and being with people, it's not one thing. It's not like
Right.
society bad, people go crazy. People
Yeah.
things that make people kind of lose connection with their own sort of wholeness, right? Bunch of stuff. So it's not like it's one thing, but overall, I feel like people in general don't care. They don't
Yeah.
care. And the ones that do care don't know what to do.
Hmm.
There's a bunch of people who are doing things and really amazing things, but I just feel like this whole notion of that's like an elective, it's an elective to care, makes me
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
give back, let's give back. Like, why do we not just take so much to begin with and maybe build into our systems that corporations are going to make less They'll still make it them way more than they'll ever spend. But we're going to build into their operational structures taking care of the damage that they're creating by overproduction and by all of the things that happen. And some of that is occurring. It's not occurring fast enough. And there's just a lot of pushback because it's somehow, I don't know, we are allergic. This notion that we put something before money it gives us hives.
Yeah.
Or this is the motor of capitalism, right? Don't get me started. Sorry. But capitalism is doing what capitalism does. But we have, as human beings, need to make these adjustments. We have to make these adjustments, and we're not doing it. We're not doing it enough,
Yeah, I was just going to say it's fast enough, but it's also at scale, right? It needs to be happening quicker, and it needs to be happening in a much bigger way. It's so interesting. You've touched on a couple of things that have reminded me about a conversation I had with another dear friend, Kate Naranjo, a few conversations ago, and she's been in the social impact workforce development space for her entire career. And she talks a lot about, number one, the need for self-care. And I know we have to think of a different way to talk about this because it's like, no one wants to say that out loud. Even she was like, ugh. But it is about how do we protect the goodness. I think here's the way I would, I'm talking this out in real time, but it's like, how do we protect the goodness inherent in ourselves as we are looking to protect others? Because I think we cannot be of best service and support if we are depleted, if we are operating from a wick. It's impossible. We cannot be the people we want to be and do the hard work we want to do if we have burned ourselves out so thoroughly. And so she talked a lot about how at a very young age she learned that, and she had to set up very specific systems and structures in her life in order to continue. She knew she wanted to be in this work for the long term. And so, I mean, listening to her, I was like, man, I wish I would have learned those lessons at such a young age as well. But she also talked a lot about, the clip I shared of her actually was when I was saying how it's so easy to logically tell yourself these things, like I need to do X, Y, and Z. I know what the answers are.
Yeah.
I know how to take better care of myself, but it's so hard to do it.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, yeah, there's something about that. She's like, and also capitalism, like, hello, the structures and systems we've set up have not allowed us to, it can feel like such a crazy act of rebellion to go like, no, I need to take the space. I need to take care of myself and my family.
Yeah.
When that's just the very basics of life. And so to your point, if we're not doing that at scale, how does the needle ever move in a significant way?
Yeah. And can we shift it? And there's so many times when I'm like, oh, we're so fucked. Sorry. I'm here. We don't care enough. And to that end, the cynical Genevieve's like, we deserve
whatever we get.
We deserve, we absolutely, I watched that movie Don't Look Up 3 times because I loved seeing when the meteors just come, it's hurtling toward Earth. And I'm like, thank God it's going to be over. Thank God. Like, poof and a new beginning. And they were all sitting around a table and they're holding hands and they're doing what humans do. So it's a beautiful glimpse of humans being beautiful, but it's all about to end. And it just filled me with such relief. And I don't say that to be negative. I really don't. I have deep concerns for us and about where we're demonstrating our priorities are.
Yep.
So the self-care part comes in, and we were talking about this earlier, where the parts of me that are getting like rigid around it's not changing fast enough. I'm going to die someday. I'm not going to, I'll see whatever change I see, but I have to preserve the part that wants the change, because if the cynicism sets in, or if you become calcified in your ideas that human beings aren't worth saving or any of that stuff, and there's plenty of evidence that is true, then,
what's the point?
What's the point? And I've stopped doing the thing that I am most, skilled at doing, not just as Genevieve, but as a human, which is caring. Despite all of this, I'm still going to care.
Yeah.
I'm still going to care, and I'm still going to believe in us. But in order to do that, I have to, I have to tend to this. Otherwise, I'm just like,
Oh, 100%. It's too easy to go down. Because I was in the media and journalism space for so long, I had to seriously at some point turn off all notifications on my phone. I felt when I was in that industry that I needed to be constantly informed at the very second that something dropped. Like I needed to know, I needed to have an opinion, I needed to, whatever. And it took me a long time to fully detox from that, but I can find myself still at times being drawn back into this like doom. Like I need to, if something tragic or terrible happens, it's almost like I need to saturate myself with it for a minute because otherwise I will just continue to replay it or look for it or read an article about it until the end of time. And so it's almost like saturate me with it so that I can fully feel what I need to feel about whatever is happening. But it's really hard, I think, sometimes, to your point, to to have some level of. I think there's a really interesting conversation happening right now, and I'm sure it's happening in other spaces too. But I hear Mel Robbins talk about this a lot because she gets some flack for her work around like mindset and how you show up in your day and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, this concept of toxic positivity and how we can't just all be a happy Pollyanna all the time. She's like, that's not the point at all. Like, at all. She's like, I know the world's fucked up. I know our lives are hard. But what is the alternative? Toxic negativity that we're just constantly walking around in a state of just like absolute despair. And sure, that's an option. And how do we then very intentionally try to almost rewire? She would not even say almost, she would say literally rewire our brains so that we are entering into the day and into spaces not feeling like the world is going to end any moment.
I love all of this, and it really feels like these polarities that we're in. Like we are very complex beings who are operating in a density that we haven't really we in this time haven't operated in. Things have gotten so dense, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like what you're talking about is this practice of intentionally being aware of how you feel, doing what you can to feel differently because your vibration, your feeling, timestamp really matters.
Mm-hmm.
It matters. And so the self-care, I don't know, monitoring or whatever, understanding where things are coming from, understanding that you're under a lot of pressure, getting all of that and knowing what to do so that you can actually elevate your own being in order to handle the moment in the best possible.
Yeah.
It's a practice that I have never had to do in my life before. That's what makes it different.
Yes.
It's different than just meditating. It's different than just feeling good. It's like, I have to do this all day long.
Every day. Yes. Every day, multiple times of the day. It is real. And I would have I didn't have any practices around that really ever. And I think it's an interesting thing to share with the generations that are younger. Like, how can you be thinking about this before you reach the point of something dramatic has to happen to get you to, for me, it was, I had a dramatic job loss that totally blew my mind. And, it was much more dramatic than that, but it shifted everything in me. There was a seismic foundational shift that happened that then allowed, I think, for some of this conversation to happen internally around, wait a second, I'm not being intentional at all. I'm just running full steam ahead without thinking really about any of this. And so what are those practices? And they don't have to be huge. They can be these like little tiny things that you do throughout the day that compound. That's what I find interesting. I tend to be the type of person that's like, if I can't do yoga for 90 minutes a day, then screw it. So this idea that it's like, no, you could just take 2 minutes to walk outside in the morning before you look at your phone is like kind of wild to me.
Right? Yeah. No, that's an important shift though. It really is. It's so important. Like take it where you can get it, make it incremental.
Yeah.
And build a practice that meets the moment. The old stuff doesn't work anymore. We really do have to redesign what self-care means, what a spiritual practice means, all of this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious if and please do not share anything more than what you're comfortable with, but you mentioned having a pretty intense moment in Mexico that got you into a different form of art and a different form of storytelling with puppeteering, which I want to hear more about just in general, because I'm so curious how one led to the other. But in facing such a pivotal moment in your life outside of the work, is there anything you'd be willing to share about how that might have shifted something for you just in how you are as a leader or how you are in the world? I am always curious from people that have navigated or experienced something that is so extreme. Clearly, we come on the other side of it as a different
Yeah.
person in some way, shape, or form. Can you speak to that a little bit, or is that feel a little
Oh, I
extreme?
love that question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that question. And I feel like the response that comes up is a feeling of at the end of the day, I was sure I was terrorized by a person in a very remote beach town in Mexico. The movie is called Boxed, and I literally in a little box with slats in it, and you can see through it. And for like 6 hours, and he was intent on killing me. He said he was going to get in. I was sure he was going to get in. He set the roof on fire, like all these
Oh
crazy.
my God.
Nobody was. I was screaming. Nobody was coming. But I had a Swiss Army knife, and I was preparing for how I was going to kill him when he got in, or how I would wound him enough for me to run. And when something like that happens, and you're just in survival mode, you're not scared. You're just
Mm.
really just focused. I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm not going to be like a little story on page, 28 of section C of the LA Times. Young woman traveler found dead in remote, like it's not happening. Not
Yeah.
happening. And
Yeah.
so what happened is that focus kind of turned into a resolve.
Mm.
And I had to endure it for many hours. And then the light came up, the sun finally came up. And then he went away, and somebody came finally, right? I mean, it was just a creepy night. Oh, it was such a creepy night. I mean, I could spend the whole time talking about what a creepy night that was. And somebody finally came, and I was just like, okay, I'm going to go now. And I got my stuff. And I remember I didn't run out of there. I went and I sat on the beach, and I was like, I am here. I am here,
Mm. Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like, I dare you. I just found this kind of ferocious, like, and then I transformed it. And then I didn't know it was going to become a film. I didn't know it was going to go to Berlin, but I made it into something else. And that showed me that you absolutely can turn terror right into transformation. You can turn something that's really horrible that you think you're not going to survive, or you think, to my point, and like we're irrecoverable as humans. It's possible, right? With conviction and focus, you can transform it into something that is
Mm-hmm.
different,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if there's something inherent. This is so not at all the same, but in sharing some kind of like, I don't know what the word is, but when we went through what we went through at the company that imploded, it was very clear that there were some folks that were going to use it as a way to better themselves or to find a way through it and pursue or fight or shift or whatever. And then there were folks that still years later hold such a level of anger or such a level of literally can't move past it. And life circumstances, I think, dictate a lot of this. I want to be really mindful of acknowledging that not everybody is starting on the same from the same starting line as it relates to what it means to navigate through some of these challenges. But you hear stories all the time of people who have faced extreme adversity or extreme life altering moments, and they then are able to harness that power, to your point, turn it into something. And then there's others who it kills them essentially. Like it makes it so they cannot move forward. I've
Yeah.
always been curious about this. Is this something that is intrinsic? Or is it something that is learned? Is it both? Like I don't know if I'm asking that question or if I'm just voicing that I'm interested in that question.
Probably too, because you think about like real survival stories and people just, um, I think it's something intrinsic. I mean, if you think of Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, like that,
Yes.
it's about that.
Mm-hmm.
Really all about what the decisions you make in your mind about what's going to happen. So I love that we're
Right.
having this conversation, because what I want to add is that when I hear, I read that book not too long ago, and whenever I hear about people who've done extraordinary things, I've been watching, oh my God, I can't think of his name, it's Virgin Airlines.
Oh, Richard Branson.
Richard Branson, because his wife just died. And so I've been following
Yeah.
him a lot. And anyway, extraordinary people, you think they're like that all the time. And I feel like, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's a decision you make over and over and over again. I'm in a new place. All of the things that I've done, all of the hardship that I'm still facing over the decisions I've made, and most are around not earning enough money and realizing like, oh, I've got to do that now. Like, that's really important. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to save the world and make art. But there's all these feelings of, can I do that? Can I transform this thing that feels like, oh, it's so hard. I don't know what to do. I don't see what it's going to be. Like, was it going to become something? I think you have to make that decision over and over and over. Like, I'm going to
Yeah.
transform this, and you either do or you don't. But it's a
Yeah.
choice, right? That
I agree. I
yeah,
agree. I do wonder if at some point you make that choice enough to where it's just, it is part of who you are, right? Like you don't, it's not like in your head you're thinking, okay, I'm going to choose to do X. It's like naturally the next step emerges because that is now who you have trained yourself to become in some ways. And that is, talk about the perfect, to me, parallel to creating art in general. It's, you have no idea what the hell is coming out. It's like, well, let's just hope it turns into something. And, you know, you just don't know. But you are making a conscious choice to create.
yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how that then led to a brand new form of art making for you with the puppet work? You were sharing that that moment and doing the movement theater and then having this, you know, tragic, horrible, and I'm so sorry that happened to you. That is just
I
absolutely
survived.
terrifying. I know, but still horrible. How did puppets come into play and what did that look like?
Pretty simple. A friend from high school actually took me to see a show that he was doing at Sac State called A Thousand Cranes. It was a bunraku show, which is ancient Japanese form of puppetry. I didn't. All I knew of puppets was Muppets up until then. Yeah, right. Which are amazing, but bunraku, an inert puppet, an inert puppet, just lifeless puppet that's brought to life by three puppeteers who are
Okay.
very skilled. They attach their hands at different points. They stand around the puppet and they make the puppet move. And I saw this play and I was like, oh my God, it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen, ever, ever.
Mm,
This inert thing that's dead coming to life through this provisional life force kind of lended by these puppeteers. And I'm like, that's it. All of us, it was like lightning bolt. Like, I want to do that.
mm,
That is the thing that human beings can't ever do. There's magic because there's such a fine line between being alive and it not being alive.
mm,
So that was what was fascinating to me. And it seemed to sort of to be a divining rod for these divine energies, like something really, truly holy and magical coming through this sock thing. So I started making puppets. I started like fooling around with paper clay and literally stuffing stockings and playing with them. And so I started making puppets. Of course, the first thing I made was like a set of circus freaks.
mm. Of course, because as you would.
Circus freaks. And yeah. And then Mexico happened. So that was when I was kind of going back and forth to Mexico, working with
Okay.
Maestro. And then I ended up in Mexico and then came back, and a friend from college had said, I'm going to do a film festival. His parents owned this big documentary filmmaking thing. He said, oh, my friend, no one's making movies. We're going to make movies. I'm going to hold my own film festival here. And so you guys can use all the equipment and everyone's going to make a movie. And I was like, I don't want to make a movie. Okay. And anyway, so he's like, I'll help you. And then it was my friend Art, who had taken me to see 1,000 Cranes. He's like, he's like, you got to make a story about what just happened to you in Mexico
Yeah.
with puppets.
Yes.
Like, yeah, okay. But nothing with any intention. We were talking about the fear of showing our work to people. None of it was ever, there was no like, I'm going to make a movie. If there had been, I
It
would
would have
have
been different.
brought my ego and all that
Yep.
stuff to it. And conversely, I was just like, I just have to tell the story.
Mm.
But it did happen that when I was in Berlin and I saw, oh, this is a huge festival. Like, oh my God. And there's all these, there was only 10 films in the panorama. And I was in the second day and I saw the first day of films and I was like, I'm out of here. Like, I'm going to go get my, in those days, it was on a canister because it was a film festival. There's no thumb drives. Monitor transfer to 16 millimeter. I was like, I'm going to go get my film and I'm leaving. There's no way I'm letting anybody watch my little, there's no way. No way. Because film, unlike theater, you see everything. You see the imprint of the filmmaker's soul. You see
Yeah.
everything about them. Doesn't matter production value. You see their intentions. You see their ego. You see their arrogance. You see their vulnerability. And I was like, I'm not down for this. I'm just not.
Mm.
So somehow that didn't happen. Somehow, I don't remember if I talked myself out of it or I just couldn't get the film or I don't remember, but I ended up saying, and it, and it was very well received. So
That has to be I can only imagine that there's so many folks that are either hearing this and have such a curiosity of what it must feel like to be in this space. I mean, first of all, for those that have been to Berlin, it's one of the most magical cities on the planet. Talk about the coolest place that you could even also be like, have your debut. Talk about a place that is just absolutely teeming with the energy of creativity. The fact that they actually support their artists is one thing, right? So people are actually creating and living, making a living, and, you know, not trying to balance, as you were sharing earlier, like what does it mean to create versus make a living and make a life and survive. And so you walk down the street at night and somebody just has their apartment door open and you walk in and they're hosting an art show with their like crappy drawings because they can. It's like it blew my mind and I loved every minute of it.
So
To put yourself in the place of that kind of energy and people being excited. How did you feel when you were sitting there watching what you had created
horrified.
and being amidst?
Absolutely horrified. Because the film before, and the Germans are awesome because they will say whatever is on their mind and they love
yeah.
the film. They love it. So they're not passive observers. They're engaged. They want to know. And the film, the series right before ours, a woman made this beautiful black and white film and it was just kind of like news footage and poetry and whatever. And someone asked a question that the translator had to translate into English. And it was, this person wants to know why you felt compelled to make this movie when they believe your time would have been better spent sitting on the toilet taking a shit.
Shut up. Oh my God.
That happened before my screening. And I was like, I can't. I can't. It's so honest. They're so honest and amazing. So yeah, anyway, I got to go back there with my third film. I was in competition with my third film, my short, and had a little bit of a different experience. It was, you know, it was wonderful, but the first one was great because it was the first of everything. And it was sort of first thing about feeling like people love art so much that they will tell you exactly what they think. And if they love it, they love it. If they don't like it, they're going to tell you why. But it's all about the craft, you know, the story, and you have to tell the truth. You can't, you know what I mean? They were really after, it seemed, authenticity in whatever form it came in.
That's incredible. I mean, what an experience. What a thing to have as like a notch in your story of a first. I think I've been thinking about that a lot lately too. Totally random tangent, but just what it means to experience something for the first time. And there's nothing like it after that. There's just not. Like it doesn't matter how great you get at something. It doesn't matter how much you still want to do it. Nothing will compare to that first time that you get to do something or have an experience. And like what a cool one to have.
Yes.
For your story.
It was amazing. Yeah. Very, very grateful. Yeah.
Can people watch this film?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. I know that it's on YouTube, but GenevieveAnderson.com is my website. It's got my film stuff and social enterprise. So I'm almost positive under films, there's a link that goes to YouTube. Again, YouTube's a terrible format, but
yeah, I know. I've been trying to navigate that. Listen, I'm like, what is even happening here? I don't know. I get that like people go here to find things, but I'm having a hard time trying to even figure out how to put things up here. So
well, it's a whole thing. Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
You just did the most perfect transition on my behalf, which is you mentioned your social enterprise.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So let's get into it. Tell us a little bit about what you're up to in that space.
Well, I started it during the pandemic, or really I started it in 2017. I wanted to make something kind of like Tom's Shoes, but with jumpsuits, thinking that I could save the world with a jumpsuit or solve homelessness with a jumpsuit. Again, total naivete, like, let's do this now. Big thing, very expensive. And I had just made my first feature film when I was in debt. It was a bad choice. But I love what I created. So I created one's apparel in action, one's WUNZ. It's a globe with the idea. The uniform is a visual symbol of our unity, but our intention, our collective intention as humans to solve this problem of home. So partnered with the Los Angeles mission, had 100 jumpsuits made in downtown LA, started to learn like, oh, how do you sell them? And I could do a whole class on all the things not to do when you're starting a social enterprise that has to deal with this consumer product. Anyway, Los Angeles Mission started volunteering there. started teaching in the career services department so I could understand better the people that I wanted to serve. So teaching resume creation and job interview skills, all that kind of a thing. And then after a year and a half or so, I sold some jumpsuits, but I was like, this is really hard. Like, this is going to take a lot, a lot.
Yeah.
But I was, again, building lots of relationships, getting mentors, getting more involved in like the LAEDC and sort of all of the development sort of organizations in Los Angeles around, solving homelessness and sort of helping that demographic. And then I realized that workforce development was probably the best way to go. Again, giving back. I got a lot of hygiene kits, and I did a lot of drives and brought sort of resources that are all needed but Band-Aids.
Mm-hmm.
So then I brought on my partner, Vanessa Watson, who is an incredible Australian social entrepreneur who helped form a very successful social enterprise called Too Good, TWOGOOD in Australia. And then she and I created Make It Work LA, and then piloted. The idea is to teach women coming through recovery. So it's not women directly coming off the street, but they're coming through recovery through the Ann Douglas Center, a skill, like something that they can use, just whether it's sewing or whether it's entrepreneurship or anything else that could be incubated in our program. But we couldn't make jumpsuits because jumpsuits are complicated. So I thought story pillows, we're going to tell part of your story on these pillow faces. And then I'm going to develop relationships with hotels in downtown LA. And we're these pillows and other goods like tote bags, simple things to make with upcycled fabric, because there's so much of it. Because you've got Skid Row, you've got manufacturing industry, like garment manufacturing, and you've got all of these really high-end hotels. We need a circular economy using resources that are going into landfill to make something useful.
Yeah.
To people who are the people who were like, oh God, Skid Row, and like, oh God, how do we help? Let's bring the stories into the hotels. Let's bring the things that we've created, beautiful, high-end products that we've created into these spaces. And so I started that. We piloted the program with the LA Mission neighborhood, and I got Conrad Hotel on board, was our first B2B partner. But then we did an 8-week workshop. We made a bunch of pillows, and then the LA Mission kind of imploded. Like, It imploded, sadly. Yeah, it was a long 3.5 years there, and man, I got a very front row seat to how strained, burdened, and in need of reorganizing and revamping the nonprofit sector is, and why they have not been more effective in addressing the homeless crisis. So,
wow, that's so much to pour into something. And I mean, these are our hearts on our sleeves, right? It's another creative output. And so to have something that you care so deeply about not see its way to the place you want to see it doesn't mean that it won't still at some point, right? Like, can you give, I don't know that everyone necessarily has the right, maybe not the right, that's not the word I'm looking for. Maybe some folks have not been exposed to what social enterprise is. So can you give just like 2 sentences on the way you would define that work?
Boy, I wish I had that prepared. I could read it and
Sorry, that's okay. No, just like that, why you were even drawn to doing that. I think that's part of it, right? Like that is the work you are drawn to doing that kind of work because you want to have an impact.
Yeah, the idea is social business for good. So you're actually helping to motor a social impact cause with a business that generates revenue, right?
Yeah.
So, but
which is not the way we always think about it, right? I think most people kind of go into, well, then you're a nonprofit. Well, no, you can be revenue generating and be a business for good, right? This was actually the concept of that venture-backed company that imploded that I was talking about. It was, they were out to prove that you can be mission driven and you can have an incredible impact in the world at scale.
Yeah.
While also bringing in revenue. It's an area that I think if we all had the right language around it, maybe we'd be more interested in finding ways to be involved in those spaces, but it's not, I don't know that we talk about it all the time in ways that feels like it's accessible.
Right. And I started speaking this last year, and did my best to try to start talking about it, really just to talk, like, what does it look like? And Homeboy is my model because they're in downtown LA and they're like they're the sort of, benchmark social enterprise because they're doing so much good. They're doing so much good, and their model is utilized by social enterprises throughout the world. They just figured out a way to do it. And interestingly, I mean, they generate $11 million a year, probably more now. These are old numbers from 10 social enterprises. And most of their money comes from private sector. Not from the 5% comes from the government. So they take very little money from the government. They just get lots and lots of donations and private sector. And the reason they work so well is they started working well is when Thomas Vazo of Aramark Apparel came in 2011, I think, and turned the whole thing around. So he's operating a social enterprise with the acumen of a CEO of a major corporation. And he's like, here's how things can run. And he turned that whole thing around. Using their model, I'm kind of stepping in and saying, like, here's what I've tried to do. Here's where I saw firsthand where the failings are of the system and where we really need to step in. Private sector needs to step in because private sector also needs social enterprise because they have to offset all of the damage that they create environmentally and socially. And there's just so much that corporations are now finally being held accountable to a little bit more, not so much under this administration, but need to be in general. So it's a perfect partnership. Get corporations partnered with social enterprises who are impact driven, but also can operate at scale, can, whatever they're doing, if it's a recycling or if it's a consumer product good or, if it's a social services, there's so many things that social enterprises can be. They're just putting social impact and making a difference at the forefront of the business.
It's so interesting because there's so many through lines that I've had, kind of popcorning in my brain that I desperately want to get to, but we're not going to have time for. So I say this, I think the majority of the women I speak to, like, we need to have a round two because there's so much. We haven't even talked about what you're focused on now, specifically in the real estate investing space, but how that also then ties to your idea around social impact, which I'm curious about. But I want to make sure I don't lose the opportunity to ask you, what do you think we harness the power of storytelling enough? So much of what you have done in your art and in your work, like, it is about storytelling, but it's not. I think sometimes we use that word and it's like storytelling, like, how do I tell the story of my life? It's like, no, you are being pulled from something that is deep within you. And I wonder what it looks like to have folks tap more. It doesn't have to be that you can tell a story or write a book. It can be that it comes out of you in all of these different shapes and forms, but it still is representative of the thing that you're trying to do or the impact you're trying to have. This is not a well-formed question, but I am curious, what do you think that there is a way for us to harness the power of that in some of the narrative change that we want to see in our world that can help us to express more of the change that we're trying to create? Or have we become so formulaic in the way that we feel that we need to share a story or share our art that even that feels too far from where we're at today?
I feel, well, storytelling, I do think a reframe is important because it's not like that's something you do for children or
Right.
something that happens at a, workshop in Oregon or I don't know. It has kind of an airy fairy thing around it, but storytelling is literally creation, right?
Yeah.
And what we don't remember is that everything we see around us, everything you do, every system you engage with is a story that somebody told. It's a
Yeah.
reality that somebody created through a narrative. They said, this is how we're going to organize ourselves as a culture. This is how marriage is going to go. And
Yeah.
how money is going to go. This is how social services are going to go. They're all stories.
Mm-hmm.
And they're already done. So if we're only looking at what's already there, we're not engaged in storytelling because it's finished. Think about storytelling as an act of creation, bringing something into being. I want a new story around how we engage with homelessness. Not even saying let's solve it. I want a new story around how people engage with it. And I feel like, I'm trying to build a way that can take shape and create an engine to create revenue and participate in the system and all that. But while doing so, we're actively involved in narrative creation and storytelling because the old stories are nearly old.
No, I love that. I love that. Yes, I love that you said, because the systems that we live in, it is the ways in which we live, right? It's everything around us. And I think that when we all learn that we get to actively participate in that story,
Yeah.
something shifts a little bit. It doesn't have to be that it's the way we think about stories, if that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. That's
It can,
beautiful.
it can be engaging, but we think we need to be invited. We're in a constricted kind of time. So
Yeah.
protecting that creative impulse and not feeling like those things are possible. So
Mm,
we need to be reminded that they not only are possible, but they're desperately needed.
yeah. Yes. On that note, and you have touched on this already over the course of our conversation, but it is the question that I end with every single woman, which is um, this understanding that everything we're doing, the choices we make, what we're trying to build in the world, all lead to some form of a legacy. And I think that we tend to, again, talk about language and the importance of it. Legacy can sometimes feel like this thing over here for when we die, but I like to think of it more as the active thing that we're participating in today. And so I like to ask every woman, what does building a legacy mean to you?
Wow. Building a, it really, I guess it for me, it would mean bringing this idea of, make it work, storytelling, impact, creating a new engine that actually can continue to operate without me, that provides value and change for disadvantaged. I hate that word too, because I feel like it's like an affliction that happened to them instead of something that was created by a system
Mm,
to
mm,
affect them. But people who were living on the margins, to create a system that would have impact on those people that they can build on. So it's a kernel of something that can grow and expand into something that feeds humanity in a larger way, maybe even beyond what I think. But not because I created it, because I'm just bringing resources and attention around something that needs to happen.
yes.
All of us make it happen. It's just that I can cultivate that seed enough for it to.
Take on the form it needs. Yes, I love that. Yes, it's incredible to hear your story. It's incredible to hear more about what makes you you, and it's no wonder I'm just immediately drawn to your energy. You have so much incredible wisdom, so much incredible information to share. So I just really appreciate you taking some time to share it with other folks as well.
Thank you for having me here, Kristen. I just, you having me here, having this conversation is new. It's nutritive. Like I don't ever talk about any of this because I'm busy and whatever. So it's taking the time out to actually talk about what feeds us, what fuels us, what we care about, what we're doing. This is really productive work. So I
Good.
thank you for creating a space for it. And I love what you're doing. And I'm just so grateful you invited me here. Thank you.
Thank you, friend. One of these days we're gonna get to meet in person. One of these days. So good to see you. See you
Bye.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.